Welcome back, guys. We're here for Jaws 2.0.
Hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Jaws. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're so excited to have you.
Hi, good to see you guys. Hope everybody's doing well. Hey, so let's jump right into this thing. So, do you want to start with, I asked you to prioritize top 3 things that you're wanting to get done. Obviously, the phone is in process and transitioning, which has been interesting on my side.
Yeah, I can't wait to check in about that.
Yeah, so where do you want to start?
I guess we'll start with my 3 things. Okay, so last week we had talked about coming to Jason with 3 things that needed to get done. And I will say we had to pause last week for Jaws because everybody in our household has been cold, sick, all the things.
It was gnarly.
And schedules, just crazy. But, so it gave me a good 2 weeks to think about my 3 things, which is definitely necessary. And actually this morning I came to Jason and realized originally we were going to reconstruct this 1 bedroom and do all of this remodeling. And I thought to myself a lot, why spend all that money remodeling a nursery room that we don't even really benefit from? It's kind of like our kids are just going to enjoy the rooms. It's not even our bathroom or our closet that need to be done. So I found 3 things that were important that I wanted to get done before the baby, and they're very simple and manageable and tangible. And I think that was the most important thing, is that they're not too far-fetched where I'm going to be stressed out.
So let's get those documented. Come on, what are the 3 things?
Okay, the 3 things is the children have carpet in their room from 1998. It needs to be redone. And the carpet is going to get redone. And the bathrooms from 1998, they're getting some cracks.
Vintage.
There's some cracks in the wall and stuff, and so I just don't want there to accumulate mold over the years. So that bathroom for the kids is going to be shared and redone. And then obviously you just need to repaint and just start moving stuff in the nursery. But I feel like those are very tangible items and easy to reach.
I'm very happy with those. Very realistic, very easy, super simple. And I'm proud of you.
Less of a big financial burden, I feel like, too. It's just, I think it'll
take the easy steps. You're 6 months pregnant. We don't need to try to redo the whole house in the next 90 days. So
I know. The nesting is real, though.
Proud of you, though. I think that's really good.
Thank you.
I don't know, and I think this, with what you're saying, I think this is applicable. We've been listening to a lot more audiobooks and trying to get more plugged in, and we're in a place of wanting to gain more education and learn more right now, just in general. And I heard something really, really fascinating around this a shift, right? And I think it's just trying to improve yourself, improve your life, and to get better. It doesn't have to be these monumental tasks, because I think a lot of us want to see major shifts. Even when it comes to the house, it's God, we need to redo everything, or I want to transform my body, or I want to make a ton more money right now. We always want this instant gratification, and this book was alluding to. Did you know if we basically make just a 1% shift every single day, just 1% better in our life, that in the course of 1 year we will have improved 37%. And so I think that's really fascinating. I think even just with the house, you could apply that and have that go towards anything. It's just starting, and you got to start somewhere, and over the course of time it will slowly start to change. And because I think that's what we've struggled with for a long time is instant gratification. It's we want to do something and we're going to make it happen. We create this chaos, and sometimes we'll make it work, and sometimes we never get to it because it's too overwhelming. So I think that's something, this is a good takeaway to remember, just those little incremental changes that you're incorporating. I even did that starting yesterday. One of the things that Ashley hates about me is when I get home. When I get home, we have chairs in our bedroom, and I just throw clothes on them. I change, throw clothes, and before you know it, at the end of the week, there's a stack of clothes. And it was just yesterday I went up and just it's embarrassing that
no, it's not. There's a lot of chair people out there. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, but it's people just even hanging up my clothes after I got back home. That little thing, it was just I woke up and I'm God, this is the first day I woke up, and there's, to start fresh, because we just cleaned the house the other day, there's no clothes on my chair. And so it's just little tiny things, and they seem so silly, but I'm telling you, I'm going with this simplification of shifts and changes, just even listening to a book 10-15 minutes. And it's funny because I know how much that works with my recovery program because I'm pretty good on a regiment with the things that I do for my recovery. It's just a little handful of things. But in the other areas, I got very open and honest last night with Ashley and vulnerable. Where I was like, dude, I've sucked in a lot of other areas of because Ashley was deciding like, hey, like you're so overwhelmed sometimes, and like it'd be nice for you to just take like a day every once in a while, just like for time for yourself, like even if it's like during the middle of the week. And I'm like, dude, I love that and I appreciate that, but I don't need to make this like I don't need to have a whole day that's dedicated to that. It's just like I can improve my life in such little areas, just like these little steps. And I may not notice anything for a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, but over down the road as I build that up, you will start to see that shift. So something that you guys that's working for us, just a suggestion.
Tell them the book.
Atomic Habits is what I've been
Atomic
reading.
Habits.
And I think like to that, like how you build that up, like one of the analogies too that he gave in the book, which was just fascinating, is like you said, an ice cube here, and if we're in a room that's 20 degrees, and it goes from 20 to 21, 22, 23, nothing happens, right? But as soon as it starts to hit 32, 33, that ice starts to melt, and that's like when that there's that major shift that happens. And for me, that analogy was very, very like the visual of that. I'm like, yeah, that's when the domino, like, or that's when the straw broke in the positive direction, and so. I'm using that now for, I'm applying that to work. I'm applying that to relationships. I'm applying that to house stuff, whatever it may be. And it's just helped me. So
I think to touch on that, I think that that's so important. It's crazy. Okay, so I just have to share this story really quick. So I listened to the Ivanka Trump podcast, and I swear to you, it like created a whole shift in my mind that I didn't even think of. Not to mention that she's like extremely intellectual and articulate, but she's very into philosophy and she reads a ton. And a lot of my family members read a ton. My dad was a huge reader. He didn't go to college. He was in the Marines. They couldn't afford for him to go to college. So he read a lot, and he was the smartest man I ever met. And I always was so frustrated by the fact that he had so many piles of books over all the time, everywhere. It was like, gosh, what are you reading? Why are you reading? And I never really understood it because reading for me was so challenging because it puts me to sleep. Like reading the words on an actual page makes me so tired and exhausted. So Audible, our cousins were talking about it while they were visiting for the holidays, and they were saying they listen to Audible all the time, or like these online audiobooks. And it just, listening to Ivanka Trump and how she listens to a lot of different books all the time because she wants to have this knowledge, and how we have this free gift of knowledge from these incredible instrumental people in life that have gone through really hard things or that have been really big entrepreneurs, and they're literally giving us their wisdom on paper is amazing. And I never really realized that, like all of these tools, and we learn it in the big book and in AA and like, all these different kinds of books and the Bible and all of these tools. It's just like life skills and people helping us throughout life and getting wisdom from those people. And so I've realized a lot of times I'll go on, you doom scroll or you're looking for inspiration through social media, and you see like little bits and pieces, but there's so much negativity that's consumed through our lives all the time that we don't even realize that we're absorbing all of that negative energy or information that's not even plausible for our lives, or it's not tools, it's just like noise. Yeah. And so I'm trying to really use 2025 as getting more of my inspiration and my tools and information from books instead of like trying to look through social media for guidance, which I think is like really important because there's just so much noise on social media, and there's so many people that are trying to give you education and advice, even when it comes to addiction and recovery. I mean, we're not professionals, and we've said this a million times, but there are a lot of people out there that pretend to be professionals that give people advice that, people take away. I think giving hope is important and giving people your own personal advice, but at the end of the day, like, we're not doctors. Our life and what we've gone through doesn't work for everybody. Yeah. It works for us, and it might work for you, but it might not. And,
it's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
And I think but I love that. And I think even taking it a step further, just to jump into how I'm applying that simple rule, is just God's timing too, of how that just all came up. Because with the phone thing, I switched my number, transitioned it, which I thought was just gonna be this like simple thing. It was literally the most overwhelming process ever, as stupid as it may seem. But really it was like, I mean, just even the process of switching the numbers was not easy. Just like, there's a whole thing. I'm not going to bore you with that story. But for me, it's just looking at it as this transition of like it's creating this separation, and it's different, right? That's what's creating this uncomfortability, and there's no fear. I care less about who gets number and who doesn't have it, and I'm grateful. I'm already seeing the benefit just even the last 24 hours of just like having my new number and like waking up and it's like, dude, I have like one text message, which is amazing. But it's just getting out and I'm creating that shift. Like the uncomfortability is showing that there's this opportunity for growth. And so literally like what we came up with for this is this phone that I used to have for the last 10 years is now going to be an office phone. It literally will sit at my desk like old school, you know what I mean? Like 9 to 5, if people want to contact or call or text or that, they can. But it's been this like amazing shift because it's like, who do you give your number to? Who do you not give your number to? And it doesn't have to be perfect, you know? And so just taking that one step at a time, just trying to just do incremental change with that. And, but I'm really grateful that I've done it. You know, I've been saying I was going to do this for the last 2 years and just got to a point where I was just like, dude, it's time. And so, I mean, even we started talking about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean,
finally.
it's just slowly doing it. So I'm really grateful about that. And I'm looking forward to seeing the benefits and hopefully, you know, as I update you guys, because again, at the end of the day, I've identified and I would challenge you guys to identify like, what are the top 3 things that you're wanting to accomplish or have in your life, like, you know, now? And tangible, and what are you doing to get there? And so for me, it's like having a deeper relationship with God, having a closer connection with my family, and having more peace in my life. And it's like, so basically I'm able to evaluate and look at anything that I'm doing. Hey, is this lining up with those 3 things that I set to as goals that I want to have be a part of my life? And so the steps that I'm taking are allotting me that opportunity, and it's going to allow me to be more effective in all areas of my life if I can create that boundary.
I think it's great. It's like having a mission statement for your life and the 3 things that you really hold true to your morals and values, and then navigating like, okay, if I take this job or if I do this, is this aligning with like my actual mission statement? And we can talk about this in another episode, but we have a family mission statement too.
We should definitely next week we'll talk about our family mission statement.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good one.
I think it's really important because just like I had heard in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Humans, it's like when you're building a house and you're building a foundation, you have to go through all of these plans in order to get the house done. And you map it out and you decide like, what is this going to look like? What's this angle going to look like? If I put this up, is this wall going to fall down? Is, you know, structural things. But we need to do that for our lives. Like we need to plan mission statements and purposes and does this align with our goals? Does this align with our values? And a lot of times we just kind of live aimlessly and go through life and walk around and do all these things or accept certain things because they think they're going to bring us financial success, or, you know, it's not
you don't take the time
reading
to
to our
pause
morals and values and things that are going to actually like benefit us for our longevity and what our future is going to look like and how we want to look towards others one day if we're gone. You know, what's our legacy that we want to leave?
Yeah, I think even like a question that we can even talk about too next week and just placing this in there, so Lance, take note of this, is how do you want to be remembered when you pass away?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was something that was asked to me and I was like, geez, that's like I mean, I've heard it before, but like when I was like asked specifically and recently, I'm like, that's really profound and deep question. You know,
it's so deep and it's so interesting to me because I think about that. I mean, I don't know if I should go into that right now. We'll talk about it next week.
And,
okay.
But yeah, that's a quick update. And today we actually reached out and asked people to send in questions. So we're going to take the remaining time of this to try to answer as many as we can. So Ash, if you want to start.
Okay. Have you and Jason tried/started journaling? If so, has it helped?
Have you ever been a journaler?
Well, my COTC daily is like journaling the Bible and writing a gratitude list every single day. And I will say, after listening to a few audibles this week, they talk a lot about how the brain can only handle so much information and how important it is to get things out on paper because you can't physically do certain aspects of your life without having like an external brain, and your external brain is basically like pen and paper and getting things out of your internal brain.
Look at you go.
I thought that was so fascinating. So I'm going to apply that into next week and we'll see how I do. But besides doing my Bible journaling, which I think is really important, but
it's taking a form that counts.
It is, but it's taking literature. It's not taking what is in my brain and putting it out on paper. It's taking what I'm reading and then analyzing it and how I feel about the actual passage. So that's more research, I feel like. And gratitude, obviously, I think is really great to get out on paper. And looking back, I mean, I have all these journals now from COTC Daily for the last year of all these things that I've been grateful for. And I think it's really cool because I still have them and I can look back and.
No, it's awesome. I mean, for me, the only form of journaling I've done in the last years is the gratitude list, and obviously like inventories, and like reflection stuff. But I've not been intentional. Like I used to journal like in my first round of sobriety back in like 2010 and 11. I used to journal and like actually like, you know, notate my day and like to take things like that, which would be interesting. I haven't done that in a long time. And I know there's tremendous benefit of being able to write stuff out. Like there's even an exercise that I only would do in therapy, where I'd actually just like when I had so much going on, I'd write out everything that was just anything that came to my mind for like 5 to 10 minutes. Just it didn't matter what it was. Could be freaking hot dog, could be hamburger, whatever the term may be. You know, whatever was going through my head, just write it down and literally crumple it up and throw it away, just to like clear my thoughts. So I know there's tremendous benefit in it, but to answer your question, no, I have not been doing that outside of the gratitude and some inventory stuff.
Yeah.
What's the next question?
I agree. Okay. Next question is, what specific resources and materials did you use to help heal yourself and set boundaries? It's a great question.
What? Say that again?
What specific resources and materials did you use to help yourself heal and set boundaries?
I mean, I can walk through this right now. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was to identify that I needed help, right? And so I think the awareness around it was really important. And then being able to bring that up and communicate that with you was the next step. And then also talking to our therapist was another piece, which again, it's still a work in motion. But then it was advised to me. I mean, I literally was a godshot how this even came up. I was talking to a friend who's very engaged in Al-Anon, and his life has changed. And I've just noticed over the last like 3 or 4 years, just the way he communicates in the text and just in calls, he's changed dramatically. And I was literally just sharing a story with him, and he's like, "Dude, I think it's time for you to jump in." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I think you need to join Al-Anon." And so now working a program of Al-Anon, working with my sponsor. I'm in the early stages of it. So, I mean, Ashley probably has more context that she can provide. But for me, like, I'm just giving you the simple guidance that I have taken that's gotten me to a place where I'm really focusing on that. And it's not easy, especially if you struggle with, like, people pleasing or wanting to, you know, if you're just in general, like, you know, a giver and wanting to help too. It's like there's nothing wrong with that, but it also can definitely be taken advantage of, and learning to have your own boundaries in place. And so I'm in that early journey, and that's what I'm hoping to share with you guys, kind of how that goes for me for this year, because it's, again, a lot of the things that I've had in my life have been such a disruption. And it's not even that they were bad things, if you will. It's more they weren't aligning with those 3 things, with my relationship with God, deepening my relationship with my family, and having more peace in my life. Actually, a lot of the things that I would interact in or partake in were actually causing more chaos and causing disruption. So that's the steps I took initially. Was identified that I had a problem, talked to my wife about it, went to our therapist, still working with her on it, have a sponsor, doing the steps and all.
Any books? The big book?
I'm literally, I mean, I'm reading right now, the 12 and 12 and stuff, but I'm too early in it to try to,
I'm just saying for AA, like any books, I mean, just the big book.
AA has nothing to,
special resources or material to help yourself, both of us.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's what she's asking. Like,
but I thought it was more specific around boundaries.
Help yourself heal, but heal or set boundaries. So both of those, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big book could be very, very beneficial, but I mean, I'm always a person where the number one thing I'm going to recommend out of anything is therapy. I think that's...
And the Bible.
Bible is obviously, and fellowship and connecting with other individuals, but what's been most helpful for me in my life has been therapy.
I completely agree. I think that is one of the number one things that really transformed our relationship. There's a lot of, if you just Google Al-Anon books, there's so many like little books that were really helpful. Blueprint for Success, which is what you're going through right now. But you can't really go through these things unless you have a sponsor, because you need somebody that's a mentor to help you through it. I think that's one of the things too that if you get into a program and you go to Al-Anon, it's really important that you find somebody that you can lean on, because it's one of those programs that it is an action program. You really have to do the work.
You can't do it alone.
Cannot do it alone. You can't go in there and just listen to guidance and be like, I'm going to implement these tools. It's like, no, you need somebody that's been through the ringer. And how do you find a sponsor? Well, I walked up to a girl that I heard her story, and she was sitting in Al-Anon and she was smiling, and I thought, how are these people smiling and laughing in Al-Anon? Like, they have like their husbands are alcoholics, or, you know, I was in such a hateful, terrible place, a shell of a human when I walked in. And so
yeah, you were.
Seeing somebody, I don't even think you remember, seeing somebody smiling and being so bright and cheery, it was like, I want what you have. And when you see somebody and you spot it and you're like, I want that, that's how you find your sponsor. And then you just walk up and say, can you please be my sponsor? I need help, I need guidance. And that's the person that's like, it's basically a free therapist. They walk you through their life. They don't give you certain advice or tell you what to do. They just say, this is what worked for me. And then you take it or you leave it. And that's the best thing. There's no judgment. They don't act like they're better than you. They are equal to you, because every day is a blessing and every day you fall, you know? That's just life.
But just to summarize that, like the question around that is like, there's, again, different strokes, different folks. I'm much more of like a verbal person. Like, I get a lot of healing through connecting, like I said, with the therapist, but it's also like friends, family, other people. I was not until as of recent, like a huge person that was like on books or like studying things. I'm much more face to face with people. So,
social.
Like I'm a much more social. I'm a visual learner as well. So like I learn that way. So you may be different from like the reading and stuff. So
I'm very creative, so visual too. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that helps. Did you and Jason ever separate when things were really difficult? We never fully separated.
What do like separated meaning like
maybe like we went and lived at different places? We never did that. We always lived together.
There was the one time when it was like, I think 6 months of sobriety, when I ended up going and staying at a hotel one night. Yeah. But it was at a place where it was at those stages of where it was like very close to getting to like us needing to take like some serious space. And I think again is like without knowing and unintentionally setting boundaries. There was that night that I ended up, staying at the hotel.
And I went to California, Northern California.
And you went to Northern California. So there was boundaries that were set, like for me to get. When I was struggling, Ashley set a boundary, like, you need to figure your stuff out. She took off at one point, like a trip that I was supposed to go on, didn't go. And then there was a time where on the flip side is when I actually had 6 months of sobriety, maybe a little bit more. And Ashley, and this is like the interesting thing, this is like a really fascinating piece as far as growth, is because when I ended up getting sober, I was starting to do the work and get plugged in. And Ashley did in the beginning. But there was a point where there was still so much resentment and so much frustration towards me as the alcoholic and everything that I had done, which again, there's like a grace period for that, but it was like I was moving forward and Ashley was staying stagnant in this area, and it was kind of like, hey, you're going to catch up with me.
Yeah.
And we would just, again, that's where our communication, even though I was clean and stuff, is like we struggled so bad with this basic communication. And we were just butting heads constantly, and we learned, it was like, seek to understand and seek to be understood. And we just were not at that place. And that's where like we had to dive in like multiple times a week with a therapist just to continue to help us navigate those basic conversations, because we couldn't have them. So, I think it was healthy. Like it got us to where we were. Like I don't discredit anything that we went through, and maybe, taking again is never, I'm not a person for like divorce or anything like that, but I think it was like for us to take space
it's important.
is important to be able to kind of reflect and gather your thoughts and be able to be effective with what it is that you're doing. But that's like the only type of separation that we've had.
Hopefully that helps you guys. Okay, 2 more questions really quick. Thoughts on case management for families? I don't really know what that means.
Case management is somebody that kind of helps oversee the process for somebody that is going through the recovery stages. They kind of help navigate. They're like the liaison that helps manage and oversee that. I think if you find somebody that really understands and takes the time to really provide oversight and structure to a person's recovery program, I think it can be very instrumental and beneficial, especially if it's like a husband and a wife and they're dealing with a kid. It allows mom and dad to be removed as like the clinician, the psychiatrist, the therapist, and it allows a person to really help guide and navigate this and creates that separation and allows mom and dad just to be mom and dad. And so I think there's very valuable assets of having certain people in your life to try to help give guidance and direction. But it really comes down to the due diligence and making sure that you're hiring the right person.
Okay, great. Okay, so not having your spouse be in charge of your meds, currently going through it. So do you think a spouse should be the one that's regulating the medication for somebody if they're in addiction?
Well, number one is I'd be curious to know what the medications are. But I think in our situation, like I'll give you an example, like for us, right? Like if let's say I had surgery and I had pain medication, even though opiates were my drug of choice, I obviously still need to be very mindful of that. I think that you being who you are and the trust that's there, like I would hope somebody like yourself, you or my sponsor or a mentor of mine would manage that.
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing wrong with it. Again, I think you need to ask yourself the question, is it something that you're comfortable doing? And if it's not you, who's somebody that's trustworthy and that is somebody that can easily help manage that process. But if, again, it's a tricky situation.
It's very circumstantial.
It is very circumstantial.
Yeah, agreed. Hopefully that answers your guys' questions. That was it.
Okay, awesome, you guys. We'll get back to you guys next week. I think we have a lot of things that we'll be working on.
I love the question thing too. Like if you guys have any more questions or concerns or anything, we love answering them and getting back to you guys. And hopefully it helps. And we will see you guys next week.
Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.